A shooting suspect in the murder of right-wing provocateur Charlie Kirk was dropped right in the lap of the FBI, and in the ensuing media scramble, once again, the left was right, the right was wrong, and Donald Trump and Kash Patel made fools of themselves. These two never need any help looking like clowns, but Utah's Republican Governor Spencer Koch absolutely humiliated both of them without even trying. I'm going to show the stunning video of Utah's governor making a radical break with the Republican Party and making Trump and Patel look like the patently absurd little boys that they are. But first, let's set the stage. The public assassination of Charlie Kirk was a brutal act of domestic terrorism, and the right wing went wild over it, with both politicians and media pundits calling for the persecution and prosecution of the left as a cure-all for what ails us. There was never any indication of the political motivation of the shooter, but that didn't stop the right wing from jumping on their new favorite cause of violence in America, the left calling Trump Hitler. Oh, and the existence of trans people. Now there is a suspect in custody, Tyler Robinson, and it's the same story all over again. The family are Republicans, they own guns, and he was introduced to weapons at an early age. And remember all those inscriptions on the rounds they discovered? One is an anti-gay threat, and many others are references to the video game Helldivers 2. And it doesn't matter how many times this happens. White male loner raised with guns, carrying out some twisted murder fantasy, the political right leaps on the tragedy to whip up more hatred of the left, the goal of which is more violence and the consolidation of power. And if you think that's just hyperbole, just watch Trump this morning.
How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. They don't want to see crime.
Worried about the border.
They're saying, we don't want these people coming in. We don't want you burning our shopping centers. We don't want you shooting our people in the middle of the street. The radicals on the left are the problem. And they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy, although they want men and women sports.
And sure, you can look at this and think it's just Trump being Trump, with his lying and his projection of wrongdoing onto others, but his claim that the left is vicious? Sorry, but the left does not dress up in military tactical gear and practice killing people. The left doesn't mask up and wage terror campaigns on city streets. The people addicted to violence in this country do not come from the left. So if Trump was hoping his message would be echoed in Utah, he was sadly mistaken, because Utah's governor just gave the opposite message to the Let's Whip Up Hate for the Left campaign. Watch.
I want you to look at how Utahns reacted the last two nights. There was no rioting, there was no looting, there were no cars set on fire, there was no violence. There were vigils and prayers and people coming together to share the humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe is the answer to this. We can return violence with violence. We can return hate with hate. And that's the problem with political violence, is it metastasizes, because we can always point the finger at the other side. And at some point, we have to find an off-ramp, or it's going to get much, much worse. But see, these are choices that we can make. History will dictate if this is a turning point for our country.
And how was he able to go off message? Well, first look at how well Kash Patel organized this. Yep, that's an organizational mastermind at work. And look at how Patel is acting as the governor is delivering his message. You know Patel is thinking, uh-oh, boss man ain't gonna like this. And no, Trump is not going to like it, because Governor Cox just made Trump out to be the biggest fool in this country. While Trump is out there engaged in creating the divisiveness that is the cause of all of this, and for which the right wing is to blame, Governor Cox is saying, we need an off-ramp. We need to get out of this cycle. Just yesterday, I argued that it's time for the Christian churches to get started raising their voices to promote nonviolence. But today, a Christian governor rose to that occasion. He made hate-monger Kash Patel, standing right behind him, look like as big a fool as Donald Trump. Not only that, but he just called out every Christian politician and right-wing media personality to drop their supposed righteous outrage and promote the actual teachings of Christianity, nonviolence being at the core of it all. I seriously doubt anyone in right-wing media will follow Governor Cox and the vision he tries to articulate. In fact, they'll probably just vilify him. But just the fact that he took this stand with all eyes on him is a stunning moment that will not be forgotten. And it's up to the Christian churches to make sure of that. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.